Most people will never become dangerous because they've mistaken comfort for safety and chaos for freedom. You think discipline is a cage, but the truth you're avoiding is this: without it, you're already trapped. Trapped by your appetites, trapped by your moods, trapped by the weakest version of yourself that keeps making promises at night and breaking them by morning. Discipline isn't what limits you. It's what liberates you. And until you understand that, you'll keep wondering why everyone else is moving forward while you're still stuck explaining why you haven't started. Let me tell you what nobody wants to admit. You're tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. You're tired of yourself. Tired of the same conversation in your head every single day. The one where you say tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow you'll wake up early. Tomorrow you'll do the work. Tomorrow you'll stop negotiating with your own potential. But tomorrow comes and you hit snooze. You scroll, you distract, you justify. And by the time the sun sets, you've added one more day to the pile of days you'll never get back. That's not living. That's dying in installments. You know what hurts worse than discipline? Regret. The sickening feeling in your stomach when you realize you had time and you wasted it. You had opportunity and you squandered it. You had a chance to become someone and you chose comfort instead. You chose easy. You chose soft. And now you're watching people who started after you finished before you. And you can't even be mad at them because deep down you know the truth. They didn't have more talent. They didn't have more resources. They had more discipline. They did the boring work. They showed up on the days when nothing felt right. They built while you scrolled. They trained while you slept. They became dangerous while you stayed safe. Here's the part that cuts deepest. You've disappointed yourself so many times that you don't even believe your own commitments anymore. When you say you're going to do something, there's a voice in the back of your mind that whispers, "No, you won't." And that voice is right, because you've trained it to be right. Every broken promise to yourself is a vote for that voice. Every time you quit, every time you give in, every time you choose the path of least resistance, you're building evidence that you can't be trusted. And now you're walking through life as someone even you don't believe in. You feel it, don't you? That gap. The space between who you are and who you know you could be. That gap has a name. It's called Undone Disciplines. It's every workout you skipped, every book you didn't read, every skill you didn't develop, every hard conversation you avoided, every morning you chose comfort over commitment. That gap isn't just distance, it's pain. It's the weight of unrealized potential sitting on your chest every night when you try to sleep. You can feel the person you were supposed to become haunting you. And the worst part, you're the only one who killed them. The world won't tell you this because the world needs you weak. It needs you distracted. It needs you controlled by your cravings and your comfort zones. Because disciplined people are dangerous. They can't be manipulated. They can't be bought with cheap dopamine. They can't be stopped by inconvenience or discomfort. A disciplined person is a threat to every system designed to keep you passive, entertained, and dependent. So the culture will sell you every excuse. It will tell you to listen to your body, follow your feelings, do what feels good. And while you're busy being authentic to your undisciplined impulses, someone else is building an empire on the foundation of habits you thought were too boring to matter. There's an old blacksmith who works in a village where no one remembers his name, but everyone knows his blades. People travel for miles to buy what he makes because his steel doesn't break, doesn't dull, doesn't bend. One day a young man comes to him and asks the secret. The blacksmith doesn't speak. He just picks up a piece of raw metal, rough and weak, and he puts it in the fire. He heats it until it glows. Then he pulls it out and he strikes it hard. Again and again, the metal sparks. It resists. It seems like it might shatter. The young man winces with every hit. Finally, he asks, "Why are you being so harsh with it?" And the blacksmith answers, "I'm not being harsh. I'm removing everything that's weak. The hammer doesn't damage the steel. It reveals what the steel truly is." That's discipline. It's not cruelty. is clarity. Every time you do the hard thing, every time you keep your word when it costs you something, you're not restricting yourself. You are hammering away everything that's not really you. Most people live their whole lives as raw metal, soft, untested, full of potential but shaped by nothing. They avoid the fire because it's hot. They avoid the hammer because it hurts. And so they stay weak. They stay breakable. They wonder why life feels so hard when they spend all their energy avoiding anything hard. But here's what they don't understand. The blade doesn't fear the hammer. The blade needs the hammer. Without it, it's just a shapeless piece of metal that can't cut through anything. Your discipline is your hammer. Your discomfort is your fire. And every single day you resist them, you stay dull. Think about a lion cub, born with claws, born with teeth, born with the instinct to hunt. But instinct isn't enough. If you've ever watched a young lion, you know it doesn't just wake up dangerous. It trains, it plays, but the play is practice. It stalks its siblings. It pounces on shadows. It learns to control its body, to time its movements, to endure hunger while it waits for the right moment. The mother doesn't coddle it. She pushes it. She withholds food so it learns to hunt. She leaves it alone so it learns to survive. And one day, that cub becomes a predator. Not because it was born one, but because it was trained to be one. You have instinct. You have potential. But until you train it, until you discipline it, you're just a cub pretending to roar. Now picture a seed buried in cold, dark soil. No light, no encouragement, no applause. Just pressure from every side. The weight of the earth pushing down on it. Most people would look at that seed and think it's trapped. They think it's suffering. But the seed knows something you've forgotten. The darkness isn't the enemy. The pressure isn't punishment. It's preparation. Underground, in the silence, that seed is doing the most important work of its life. It's sending roots deep. It's building a foundation. It's gathering strength. And when it finally breaks through the surface, it doesn't break through because it got lucky. It breaks through because it did the work nobody saw. Your disciplines are the roots. The habits you build in private. The promises you keep when no one's watching. The work you do in the dark. That's what determines whether you break through or stay buried. There's a man who spent 3 years building a single piece of furniture, a table. People thought he was insane. They'd ask him, why is it taking so long? Just finish it. But he wasn't interested in finishing. He was interested in mastery. Every day he'd sand the wood, check the joints, adjust the angles. Some days he'd work for hours and the table would look exactly the same as when he started. No visible progress, no applause, no proof that any of it mattered. Just him and the work. And then one day he was done. And when people saw it, they couldn't speak because they'd never seen craftsmanship like that. The table didn't just hold things, it told a story. The story of a man who refused to rush, who refused to settle, who treated every invisible hour like it mattered. That's what discipline builds, not just results. Character. The kind of soul that can't be shaken because it was forged in the quiet. Your manufacturer didn't design you for mediocrity. You weren't created to be average, distracted, controlled by whatever you feel in the moment. You were designed for mastery, for precision, for impact. But design means nothing without discipline. A Ferrari with no driver goes nowhere. A sword with no training cuts nothing. You can have all the potential in the world, but potential without discipline is just a story you tell yourself to feel better about doing nothing. The Creator built you for more, but more requires you to become more. And you don't become more by accident. You become more through the daily, unglamorous, unrewarded work of disciplining your body, your mind, your time, your attention. That's where transformation lives, not in the big moments, in the small disciplines nobody sees. Before I continue, answer one question honestly. When was the last time you kept a promise to yourself that actually cost you something? Not a promise that was easy. Not a promise that felt good. A promise that required you to sacrifice comfort, to endure discomfort, to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. When was the last time you looked yourself in the mirror and knew with absolute certainty that you could trust yourself? If you can't answer that, you found the problem. And if you're still listening, something inside you is waking up. You don't build discipline by feeling motivated. Let that sink in. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are weather. They come and go. Some days the sun shines and you feel invincible. Other days it rains and you don't want to get out of bed. But disciplined people don't check the forecast. They don't wait for the right mood. They move regardless. Because discipline is doing what you said you'd do, long after the mood you said it in has left. It's honoring the version of yourself that made the plan, even when the version of yourself in the moment wants to quit. That's integrity. That's self-respect. That's power. Most people are slaves to how they feel. They eat when they feel like it. They work when they feel inspired. They rest when they feel tired. They live entire lives at the mercy of their emotions. And then they wonder why their lives feel so chaotic. Your feelings are not your master. They're signals. Sometimes they're useful. Often they're liars. The part of you that wants to sleep in is lying. The part of you that says you'll do it later is lying. The part of you that says you've earned the break before you've done the work is lying. And every time you obey those lies, you get weaker. Every time you override them, you get stronger. Discipline is the practice of not believing every thought and feeling that passes through you. Here's what nobody tells you. The gap between who you are and who you could be isn't filled with talent. It's not filled with resources or opportunities or lucky breaks. It's filled with undone disciplines. All the small things you know you should do but don't. The early mornings, the hard conversations, the boring repetitions, the unsexy fundamentals. That gap is the graveyard of your potential. And every day you avoid discipline, you're digging it deeper. You keep waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right circumstances. But there is no right time. There's only now. And now is slipping through your fingers while you negotiate with yourself about whether you feel like showing up. Listen carefully. You train in silence. You build in silence. You become dangerous in silence. The world celebrates the victory, but has no idea about the thousands of hours that nobody saw. The early mornings in the gym when your body screamed to quit. The late nights studying when your friends were out. The meals you prepared. The temptations you resisted. The comfort you sacrificed. Nobody sees that part. Nobody applauds that part. But that part is everything. Because discipline isn't a performance. It's not for an audience. It's between you and the person you're becoming. And the beautiful, terrifying truth is this. You can lie to everyone else, but you can't lie to yourself. You know when you quit. You know when you gave in. You know when you chose easy. And you have to live with that knowledge every single day. Undisciplined people are controlled by their circumstances. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and their whole day is ruined. The weather changes, and their plans fall apart. Their feelings shift, and suddenly they can't do what they committed to. They're leaves in the wind. Reactive, fragile, powerless. But disciplined people create circumstances. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They make conditions irrelevant. Tired? Doesn't matter. Unmotivated? Doesn't matter. Inconvenient? Doesn't matter. The disciplined person moves anyway. Not because they're superhuman. Because they've trained themselves to honor commitment over comfort. And over time, that training creates a different kind of human. The kind that doesn't break under pressure. The kind that gets stronger in the storm. Your future self is watching you right now. Not the vague idea of who you might become someday. The actual version of you that exists 5 years from now. And that version is either grateful or heartbroken. Grateful because you started today. Because you made the hard choice. Because you built the foundation. or heartbroken because you're still the same, still making excuses, still choosing comfort, still convincing yourself that someday you'll change when someday isn't a day of the week. Your future self can't come back and do the work for you, but they're begging you, pleading with you. Do something today that they'll thank you for. One disciplined choice, one kept promise, one moment where you override your feelings and honor your commitment. That's how you bridge the gap. That's how you become who you were meant to be. And here's the shift that changes everything. Right now, discipline feels like deprivation. It feels like you're giving something up, giving up sleep, giving up comfort, giving up fun. But there's a moment, if you stay consistent long enough, where discipline stops being something you do and starts being who you are. Where waking up early isn't hard anymore. It's just what you do. Where choosing a healthy meal isn't a sacrifice. It's just who you are. Where doing the work isn't a negotiation. It's just your identity. And when you cross that line, when discipline becomes identity, you don't just change your actions. You change your entire existence. You walk differently. You talk differently. You see yourself differently. Because you're no longer pretending. You're no longer hoping. You're living proof that you can trust yourself. The world is full of people who talk about what they're going to do. Big plans, big dreams, big words. But the world is starving for people who just do it. Quietly, consistently, without announcement, without applause. The ones who show up before the sun. The ones who finish what they start. The ones who keep their word even when it costs them. Those people are rare. Those people are dangerous. Not dangerous in a destructive way. Dangerous in the way a sharp blade is dangerous. Precise, effective, unstoppable. You can become that. But it requires you to stop living at the mercy of your moods and start living by the code you set for yourself. And that starts today. Not when you feel ready. Today. There's a moment coming that you can't see yet, but it's waiting for you. A moment when you wake up and you don't have to fight yourself anymore. You don't have to convince yourself to do the right thing. You don't have to negotiate or bargain or make deals with the weakest parts of you. You just move naturally, powerfully, like water flowing downhill. That moment exists on the other side of discipline. But you have to walk through fire to get there. You have to endure the version of you that resists, that complains, that wants to quit. You have to outlast your own weakness. And when you do, when you finally break through, you won't just feel different. You'll be different at a cellular level, in your bones, in the way you breathe. Discipline won't be what you do anymore. It will be who you are. Right now, you're living in two worlds. There's the world where you keep choosing comfort, keep hitting snooze, keep putting off the hard work. And in that world, 5 years from now, you're exactly where you are today. Maybe worse. Heavier with regret, slower with age, bitter with missed opportunities. You'll look back and realize you had everything you needed except the discipline to use it. And that realization will haunt you. It will follow you into every quiet moment. Every time you see someone living the life you could have had. Every time you remember the version of yourself you promised to become. That world is real. It's waiting for you if you keep choosing the path you're on. But there's another world. A world where you decide right now that enough is enough. Where you stop negotiating with yourself and start moving. Where you build one discipline at a time until you've constructed an entirely new life. In that world, 5 years from now, you don't recognize the person you used to be. You look back at today and you feel grateful. Grateful that you started. Grateful that you endured. Grateful that you became someone who keeps their promises. In that world, you wake up powerful. You move through your day with precision. You don't waste time because you understand time is the only currency that matters. You don't chase cheap dopamine because you've tasted real accomplishment. You don't need validation because you validated yourself through action. That world is just as real, just as available. The only difference is the choice you make today. Somewhere in the future, there's a version of you that's already disciplined. That version isn't wondering if they should work out. They've already done it. That version isn't debating whether to start the project. They finished it months ago. The version doesn't struggle with the basics because they mastered the basics years ago and moved on to bigger challenges. And here's what that version knows that you don't know yet. The hard part isn't staying disciplined. The hard part is becoming disciplined. Once you cross that threshold, once you build the identity, everything gets easier. Not because the work gets easier, because you get stronger. Your capacity grows. Your tolerance for discomfort expands. What used to break you now barely registers. And that version of you, that future disciplined you, is calling you forward, not with words, with evidence, with the life they're living, with the peace they feel, with the respect they've earned from the only person who matters, themselves. The world doesn't need more dreamers. It's drowning in people who talk about what they're going to do someday. The world needs builders. It needs people who can endure boredom, who can delay gratification, who can suffer in silence while they construct something that matters. There's a throne waiting for disciplined people, not a literal throne, a position of influence, a level of impact, a depth of character that commands respect without demanding it. But that throne isn't given, it's earned. One unrewarded morning at a time, one unglamorous repetition at a time, one moment of choosing right over easy at a time. And when you finally sit on that throne, when you finally become the person you were designed to be, you'll look back at this moment, this exact moment, and you'll realize this was the turning point. This was when you stopped being a victim of your feelings and became the architect of your destiny. Discipline isn't the enemy of joy. Let me say that again because you believed the lie for too long. Discipline is not the enemy of joy. It's the foundation of it. Undisciplined people don't experience real joy. They experience pleasure. They experience distraction. They experience the temporary high of giving in to every impulse. But joy, real joy, that only comes from knowing you're becoming who you're supposed to be. It comes from keeping your word, from building something that lasts, from looking in the mirror and seeing someone you respect. You can't buy that. You can't fake that. You can't stumble into that. You have to build it, one disciplined choice at a time. And when you finally taste it, when you finally feel what it's like to trust yourself completely, you'll realize every sacrifice was worth it. Every early morning, every hard choice, every moment you wanted to quit but didn't. All of it was building toward this, toward the person you're becoming. There's an ancient principle that most people never learn. The warrior doesn't train for the battle. The warrior trains so that when the battle comes, they don't have to think. Their body knows what to do. Their mind is calm. Their spirit is unshakable. That's what discipline does. It prepares you for the moments that matter. The moment when everyone else panics and you stay calm. The moment when everyone else quits and you keep going. The moment when everything falls apart and you're the only one who knows how to rebuild. Those moments are coming. You don't know when. You don't know how. But they're coming. And when they arrive, you'll either rise or you'll crumble. Not based on your intentions, based on your preparation, based on the disciplines you built in the quiet, based on whether you're someone who can be trusted under pressure. And that person, that unshakable person, is being formed right now. In the small choices, in the daily habits, in the moments nobody sees. You were made for mastery. Not mastery of others. Mastery of yourself. Mastery of your time, your energy, your focus, your impulses. Because when you master yourself, everything else becomes possible. You can build the business. You can heal the relationship. You can create the art. You can serve the mission. But it all starts with you getting control of you. And control doesn't come from willpower. Willpower is a muscle that gets tired. Control comes from systems, from disciplines that become automatic, from building a life where the right choice is the easy choice because you've removed the friction, you've designed your environment, you've structured your day, you've eliminated the need to rely on how you feel because you've built a framework that moves you forward regardless. The clock is ticking, not to scare you, to wake you up. You don't have unlimited time. You don't get to live this day twice. Every morning you waste is gone forever. Every opportunity you let pass because you didn't feel ready is an opportunity someone else took. And while you're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect circumstance, someone with half your talent and twice your discipline is building the life you dreamed about. That's not to make you jealous. That's to make you move, because you have everything you need right now. You don't need more information. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. You need to start researching and start doing. Stop planning and start building. Stop talking about who you're going to become and start being that person today. And here's the beautiful part. The part that should fill you with hope. It's not too late. I don't care how many times you've quit before. I don't care how many promises you've broken. I don't care how long you've been stuck. Today is a new day. Right now is a new moment. And you can decide right here that the old version of you is done, that the excuses are over, that the negotiating has ended. You can decide to become dangerously disciplined starting now. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when you feel ready. Now. And that decision, that single moment of commitment, can change the entire trajectory of your life. Because discipline compounds. One good choice leads to another. One kept promise builds faith in yourself. One hard morning makes the next one easier. And before you know it, you're not the person who struggles with discipline anymore. You're the person people look at and wonder how you do it, how you stay so consistent, how you get so much done, how you make it look so easy. And you'll smile because you'll know the secret. It's not easy. It never was. You just decided it was worth it. The path is laid out in front of you. It's narrow. It's steep. It's going to hurt. There'll be days when you question everything. Days when you want to go back to who you were, because at least that was familiar. Days when discipline feels like a prison and comfort calls your name like a siren song. But on the other side of that path is a life you can't even imagine yet. A life where you wake up energized because you're living in alignment. Where you go to bed proud because you kept your word. Where you look at challenges as opportunities because you've trained yourself to thrive under pressure. Where people seek you out, not because you're lucky, but because you're built different. And you'll know deep in your soul that you earned every bit of it, that nobody gave it to you, that you forged yourself in the fire of daily discipline until you became unbreakable. So I'm asking you, not begging, asking, what are you going to do with this moment? Are you going to let it pass like all the others? Are you going to feel inspired for 20 minutes and then go back to the same patterns that have kept you stuck? Or are you going to let this be the line in the sand? The moment you look back on and say, that's when everything changed. That's when I stopped being a slave to my feelings and became the master of my life. The choice is yours. It always has been. But the time is now, not someday, now. Because your future self is counting on you. And the world is waiting for the disciplined version of you to finally show up. Become dangerously disciplined. Not for applause, not for recognition. For yourself. For the person you know you're capable of being. For the life you know you're capable of living. The journey starts today. And it starts with one choice, one discipline, one promise kept, and then another and another, until you've built a life so solid, so powerful, so undeniable that nothing can shake it. That's your destiny. Now go claim it. If this message spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want more messages that grow your soul, subscribe, because your journey has just begun. You're standing at a crossroads right now, and I need you to understand something. This isn't just another motivational message that fades by tomorrow morning. This is a mirror, and what you do in the next 24 hours will tell you everything you need to know about who you really are, not who you wish you were, not who you pretend to be when people are watching, who you actually are when the inspiration wears off and the work begins. Because that's where truth lives, in the gap between what you say and what you do, in the space between the promise and the follow-through. That gap is either going to close or it's going to swallow you whole. Every person who ever became someone worth becoming had to face this exact moment. The moment where comfortable was easy and discipline was hard. The moment where they could keep drifting or start building. And the ones who made it, the ones whose names we remember, the ones who changed their families and their communities and themselves, they all made the same choice. They chose the hard path, not because they felt like it, not because they had some special strength you don't have, because they understood something fundamental about how life works. You don't get rewarded for potential. You don't get rewarded for good intentions. You get rewarded for discipline, for showing up, for doing the work when nobody's watching and nobody cares. That's where legends are born. In the boring, repetitive, unglamorous moments that nobody will ever see. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking about all the times you tried before, all the times you started strong and faded fast, all the evidence that says you're not the kind of person who follows through. But that evidence isn't destiny, it's history. And history only repeats itself if you keep making the same choices. You're not cursed, you're not broken, you're not incapable. You've just been undisciplined. And the beautiful thing about discipline is that it's not genetic. It's not given to the lucky few. It's built day by day, choice by choice. And if someone else built it, that means you can too. The only question is whether you will. Think about what's at stake here. Not just your goals or your dreams or the life you say you want. Your dignity, your self-respect, your ability to look yourself in the eyes and know that you're someone who can be trusted. Because right now, if you're honest, you can't. Right now, there's a part of you that knows you're going to read this, feel inspired, maybe even take a note or two, and then go right back to the same patterns that have kept you stuck for years. That part of you is loud. It's convincing. It's got a million reasons why today isn't the day. Why you should wait until you're more ready, more motivated, more prepared. But that part of you is a liar. And every day you listen to it, you die a little more inside. Somewhere out there, someone with less talent than you is outworking you. Someone with fewer resources is outbuilding you. Someone who started later is going to finish earlier. Not because they're special, because they're disciplined. Because they made the decision you keep delaying. And while you're waiting for the perfect moment, they're creating it. While you're wondering if you can, they're proving they can. While you're stuck in analysis, they're deep in action. And the gap between you and them isn't ability, it's discipline. Close that gap. Starting today. Starting right now. Starting with the very next decision you make. Your life is the sum of your daily disciplines, not your occasional bursts of effort, not your New Year's resolutions that die in February. Your daily disciplines, the things you do when you don't feel like it, the promises you keep when it's inconvenient, the standards you maintain when nobody would know if you lowered them. That's what builds a life worth living. And you can start building that life today. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect circumstances. You just need to make one disciplined choice, then another, and trust that the compound effect of those choices will take you places your current habits never could. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's going to be easy. It won't be. There will be mornings when your bed feels like heaven and discipline feels like hell. There will be moments when you're tired and hungry and weak and every cell in your body is screaming to quit. There will be people who don't understand why you're changing, why you're suddenly unavailable, why you can't just relax and be normal like everyone else. And in those moments, you're going to have to remember why you started. You're going to have to reconnect with the pain of staying the same. You're going to have to decide that becoming disciplined is worth more than being comfortable, because it is. 1,000 times over, the version of you that you're capable of becoming is waiting, not somewhere far off in the distant future, right on the other side of today's disciplines. That version is stronger, calmer, more focused, more powerful than you can currently imagine. That version doesn't waste time, doesn't make excuses, doesn't live at the mercy of moods and feelings. That version is free, truly free. Not because they do whatever they want, but because they've mastered themselves. And self-mastery is the only freedom that matters. Everything else is just permission from someone else. But when you master yourself, when you become dangerously disciplined, you don't need permission anymore. You don't need approval. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need you, and you become enough. So this is it. This is your moment. Not to feel good, not to get inspired, to decide, to draw a line, to become someone new. The old you ends here. The excuses end here. The negotiations end here. What begins is the process, the daily grind of becoming. And it won't be glamorous, it won't be celebrated, but it will be worth it. Every single painful, difficult, character-building moment of it. Because on the other side of discipline is everything you've ever wanted, not just the external results, the internal peace, the self-respect, the unshakable knowing that you are who you say you are. Now go, stop reading, stop consuming, stop waiting, go do one thing, one disciplined thing right now, and let that be the first step of the rest of your life.